are way ahead of every other brand. When you come out with a product, you have to ask yourself, does this product have a reason to exist?
Hello everyone and welcome to Love Padel. My guest today is Philip from Pallap. Pallap is a brand that I was exposed during one of the tournaments that I took part in. And the conversation with Philip made me think, what's the future of this industry? How is it going to grow? How many more companies we're going to be seeing formed in the next few years when Pallap is expanding right now in the US? Allow me to introduce Philip, and I will let him to introduce himself.
Hi everybody, it's Philip from Pallap Padel, and we're here to talk paddle.
We have a lot to talk about. The future of paddle from your perspective, the future of Pallap from your perspective, what's the goals, what's the growth, and where do we see all of this paddle world expanding and taking shape right now in the US? So tell me a little bit about your personal story so other people can understand about your experience, about your knowledge.
Okay, well, I've worked in racket sports for the majority of my career, working for some of the bigger companies, biggest names. You'd know all of them. And I worked across all racket sports, from tennis to racquetball to squash to pickleball and now paddle with the growth. So I've experienced all aspects of racket sports in the US, from major companies to minor companies, and I've seen the growth in multiple sports. There's a bright future for paddle in the US.
What pulled you away from working with the big brands and start working with your own product?
I worked for two of the bigger brands for most of my career, and then I had exposure to paddle and I'd seen the growth around the world, and I thought this would be a great opportunity for the US. So through some mutual friends, I connected with one of the bigger companies at the time, AFP, who's the licensee for Adidas globally, and they were building courts in the US, but there really wasn't any products business. They wanted to expand in the US and start selling their rackets like as they do all over the world. So we established their organization here in the US. We built a distribution network. We built marketing plans. We created advisory team, influencers, and launched Adidas in the US. And we had tremendous success. At the time, we were way ahead of every other brand. The big tennis brands didn't even know paddle was happening in the US. The endemic brands from Europe didn't know anything about the US. So we were first and had a great jump. Now, as people are becoming more aware of paddle, that's leveling off because there's more competition. But what I really saw is a lot of the big brands, obviously they spend a lot of marketing. They're well known within paddle. The tennis brands are well known outside of the hub, which is Miami, where you're bringing people into the game who are not necessarily paddle players or don't know the sport. I saw a need for really high performance, high quality technical product. The other brands, other brands make great products. There's a lot of great rackets out there, but the engineering, the design, the durability it's very generic in a lot of cases, except for maybe a few special rackets. There was a need to build a high quality, high performance endemic brand. So my concept was, as the sport grows in the US and as it expands across, people initially may go for the big tennis brands, the names they know, but then as they get more and more into the sport, they're going to look for a pure paddle brand, a brand that focuses every day on their rackets. And the idea was we can establish a super premium, high quality brand for every player, for a beginner through a pro level player now, and then grow. And they say rising tides lift all boats. Mm-hmm. So as the sport grows, Pallap will grow and will become ingrained as the brand that real players want to use.
Were there any moments during the thinking about this process when you said, I'm going to go with Pallap, that you say, maybe I shouldn't?
Well, there's always, when you start your own business and you're a small, startup entrepreneur, you do everything yourself. So I'm the president, and I do the invoicing, and I do the marketing, and I pack some of the orders. We do have a warehouse now as we're growing. You do a little bit of everything, and I think I read there's 3 stages to starting your new business. There's the excitement in the beginning and the major push and the interest. And then the middle part is the toughest part, because some days you just say to yourself, is this really going to work? Are we going to make it? And then obviously the third part is when you start to see success. And I think we're kind of out of that middle stage, and we're starting to see the success. More people are recognizing the brand. More people are using the rackets. You start to see them on the courts where you least expect it. Our website is getting more exposure. Every aspect of it, we're starting to see success and people recognizing the benefit of the Pallap brand and why Pallap is a brand to use and play with.
What did you learn from your experience working with other brands in the past, and you brought it into Pallap right now? And what did you learn you shouldn't bring into this next adventure?
The first thing is, when you come out with a product, you have to ask yourself, does this product have a reason to exist? Meaning not only the brand, which I believe the brand has a great reason to exist, but each individual product. If we've got 5 rackets in the line or 10 rackets in the line, or like some of the major brands have 30 rackets in the line, you know, why this racket? What's special about this? Who does it serve? What does it do? So you really have to look at each racket through engineering and design and target who that product is for and how it benefits them. And does it deserve to exist? So the first thing is making sure it starts with the product. Everything starts with the product. The product has to be right, from design, engineering, performance, quality of materials, and graphics. It has to look great, because when you go online or look in a store and there's a wall full of 25, 30, 50 rackets at some of the big stores,
You want to stand out.
you want to stand out. You want to pop off that wall so their eyes will gravitate to your brand. And I think we do that. We'll speak a little bit more about the product, but even something like this. This is a hot looking racket coming out. Now, this racket in particular, why? Okay, it looks great, but that just attracts you to it. When you pick it up, it's got that great pickup feel. Every racket has a specific balance based on who the target player is. You know, pro models more head heavy, mid-range models more evenly balanced for maneuverability. So you pick it up, it looks great, it feels great, it's priced comparable to the competition, probably 20 to 30% lower than comparable products material-wise, but it's probably 30 to 40% better performance-wise.
Wow.
So it has a reason to exist in our line at a specific. So the product, it always starts with the product. What else about the business is important?
And you learn in other businesses in your past work
Yes.
before, and you brought it into this business.
I've been involved in the launches of some of the most successful products in racket sports and some of the worst products in racket sports. You know, you don't succeed all the time. I can go through the failures, but I can also go through a lot more successes. That's the important thing. The most important thing about what you need to do is, bigger companies are getting away from what I feel is the foundation of racket sports. It's a social sport. It's fun. It's interesting. Everyone's into automating their processes, AI systems, online Zoom meetings. I still believe an important aspect of this is personal, hand to hand. How many people can you touch? I still go to the courts. I meet with players, with just recreational players. I meet with club owners. I meet with everyone. And I love to speak to people about the game, about the product. So when I work with a club, I go meet with the club owner. I speak to the person who works behind the counter. I speak to the person at the coffee counter. I try to speak with everyone at the club to get to know them, to experience it, and why. And that way, they know the brand. They understand the brand. That's a big part of this business that I think a lot of big companies have possibly forgotten.
And you're talking with the actual players. I mean, we met
Yes.
in the court, and I remember this conversation and your passion when the first time that we met. You gave me to hold every one of the rackets. You let me to try it on the court and say, go and try this one. I think it will fit you. And I came back and I say, I don't know about this one. You gave me the other one, and I ended up buying the other one, and I'm using it for today. And it's time to upgrade, and I'm looking at the new collection, and I think that I want to upgrade to some of the new collections already. So I'm waiting for those to come out. When are those planning to be out?
The new rackets, which is called our Evo Force line, will launch in Europe. It's launching in about a week or so. It's going to start to hit the shops, and it'll hit the U.S. in early June. So we're 40 days away from having this product in the US market. Everything from our Evo Force Pro, which is a pro level racket. It's obviously much heavier, it's much firmer, it's got a lot of our top features in it, all the way down to our Bright Star, which I just posted this on Instagram. So for those who want to see, it's Pallap Padel USA. We're making a special edition of this racket. The logo will be a USA flag, and it says USA 250 edition. So it's a special edition, limited edition. So that'll launch. These are launching. Again, we got a full range from beginner to pro. What we do different is at every racket, every level, all of our materials are sourced in Europe. So we use premium carbons from Italy and Spain. We use foams from the UK. With this new collection, we've engineered technology into these frames that no other brand is doing, from blending layers of foam, of different density foams to get different levels of performance, using different levels of carbon from 15K, 12K, 3K, blending that all in the same model to create different performance experiences. Pallap started about 2.5 years ago in Europe. A friend of mine, Chris Desalias, I always butcher his last name, it's French. He has been in the sports business for many years. We've known each other for a number of years, and he is a paddle enthusiast. And he saw what I saw, that there's big brands, there's small brands, but there's a need for a higher level of product. And when I say a high level of product, I don't mean only pro rackets. I mean even to give the beginner a better experience. Most beginner rackets from other companies are their lowest quality, their cheapest materials, drag everything out of it to just make an inexpensive racket. We put more into ours. So Chris had this vision of creating this brand. He launched the brand in Europe. And then we were having a lunch one day, and he told me what he had just done with the brand, and I had, at that point, left my prior company and was figuring out my next move. What's it going to be? Am I going to retire? Am I going to drive the school bus? Or I love racket sports. Again, I love being out there speaking with people. We came to an agreement, and I launched Pallap in the US. So I own the brand for North America, the US and Canada. We're just launching in Canada now. We've been in the US for about a little over a year now, and we're doing great. In the beginning, I had to explain the brand. Now people are recognizing the brand and saying, oh, let me try that racket. So we're making good progress, a year and a half into it, and our growth is good for our first year of business. Year two looks to be better than year one, which you always hope in a new business. I think people are seeing, experiencing the brand, and getting the benefit.
Now let's talk about Padel for a minute. Padel in the US right now, it's in its beginning stages. And we see it expanding and we see it growing. Miami is the capital. We have the most amount of ports right now in America. It's down here in South Florida. And we're enjoying it a lot because we are local. But the rest of the US is still behind. It's like baby step growing little by little, one court here, one court there. We see more states that opening. Canada is just now joining to the game. There is several clubs in Canada as well.
Yes.
But comparing to Europe, we're still years behind. What's the difference between the US market and the European market in paddle?
Well, I think we look back at particular countries in Europe, obviously Spain, the biggest, and it grew in Italy and other countries. Germany is really behind some of the other countries. They're growing. The UK is currently exhibiting explosive growth. So why, how does that relate in the US? Well, we can look at what happened in other countries and relate it to what's happening in the US. So for example, paddle has been down here in Miami for many years. Now you're seeing an explosive growth in Miami, but it's also happening in the rest of the country. But Miami is unique, and it's a different consumer in the rest of the country, because in Miami what you're finding is people who've played paddle globally, and now they say, oh great, I can play paddle here. I have a friend who lives up in Boca, and he used to have to come down once a month to Miami to play. Now there's 3 clubs in Boca, so he plays once a week because he doesn't have to drive an hour plus to get here. What you're seeing in the rest of the country is pockets where your growth. New York, Paddle House, great partner of ours. They started in New York, and now they're expanding throughout the country. The difference is when you go to other parts of the country, how you launch your club, how you market, how you bring people in to get that paddle experience is crucial. Because you see, as there's been some articles recently, how some clubs have not made it. They've changed ownerships. They're failing. That's not a sign of the sport. To me, that's a sign of not understanding the sport and what's the beauty of the sport. So when you travel to these clubs in Europe, for example, they're social places. They're not like some other racket sports where you go, you meet your four friends, you play, and then you leave. There's a social aspect to it. So are they creating the right experience with food, TV screens, lifestyle? Are people coming there to socialize in addition to just play? That creates more success. Investing in a coach. A lot of clubs outside of this area can't get coaches. Well, getting the proper coach is an investment that a club owner needs to make. If you get a proper coach, they create engagement. They bring in people. They're part of your marketing. So people have a greater experience. It's all about the experience. So if you look at the successful clubs outside of this hub area, the ones that are successful are the ones that are creating a beautiful experience. Enjoyable atmosphere, social aspect. That's part of the success. That's what's got to happen. What I find is a lot of European companies don't quite understand the U.S. market. First of all, it's massive. There's 300 million people in the U.S. Padel is not even on the radar. 99% of the population, probably 99 point something, have never even heard of it. They have no idea. When you say paddle, they think of 20 other things. They don't know it exists. So
Lately, they start to get exposed to pickle.
yes.
And they comparing pickle to paddle.
Yeah, and I don't like to compare pickle to paddle.
You cannot.
They're different games. They're different sports. It's a different consumer. Yeah, there's always a little crossover, but for the most part, they're two different games. And it's not a fair comparison, except for the fact that they're both new.
Exactly. Those that comparing pickle to paddle probably don't play pickle.
Correct.
And they for sure don't play paddle.
Yes.
And they hear this is the new game that now everyone playing. It's like tennis, but it's not pickle.
Yes.
So no, it's not pickle. There's a big difference between pickle and paddle. The way that he's been playing, the way that our rackets are designed, the courts are different, the ball is different. It's pretty much a different sport.
Everything from the sport itself to the business of it is different. It's a different business model completely from pickleball.
And do you think that it's reaching out to a different target audience, or it's shooting for the same racket lovers?
I think in a country like the U.S., it's a sports crazy country. We shouldn't say, are we targeting pickle or are we targeting tennis? In a way we are, because we're a racket sport, but we should be targeting everyone, basketball players, any other sport.
Soccer players. Globally, we see soccer players pretty
Yes.
much fall in love in paddle, and they start playing paddle all the time right
Yes.
now. And if you ask many soccer players what is their favorite sport, they're making the money out of soccer, but they love paddle.
So I think it's a game where you can target almost anyone looking for a fun, easy to play sport. Of course, it's hard to master the sport, and that's where you need coaching and training, but anyone can get on the court, bounce the ball, and hit it. It requires little coordination to do that. So that's the fun part of the sport. And then obviously it draws people in and they learn. So back to where it's going to go in the U.S., I think it will grow tremendously over them. People say 20,000 courts, people say 10,000 courts, 8,000 courts. I have my number that I think, but I don't want to project that. But if we had 10,000 courts tomorrow, what does that equate to? 10 million players or more.
Right.
That'd be wonderful for the sport, for the business. It would expand throughout the country. The misconception people have in Europe about the U.S. is, in the U.S., that's a blip. It's nothing. So to get to make this sport a success, we can reach 5 to 10%, and this sport would be phenomenally successful.
There's always the question of the chicken and the egg. What comes first, the chicken and the egg? In our application, it's what comes first, the players or the courts? Do we need more courts to create more players? Or we have right now, at least here in South Florida, enough courts to produce many more players.
Yes. I mean, that's the business side, and that's the investment. Investors have to see the future benefit and the return, and we're seeing that. There's many investors building clubs and courts, both here and as well as throughout the country. We have Padel now in North Carolina, or in South Carolina, in Georgia. We have Padel in New York, in New Jersey. We have Padel in Texas. We have Padel in Denver, in California, Arizona. So
Vegas.
In Las Vegas, yes, Nevada. So you're seeing it spread everywhere. You're seeing investors who understand the sport, see the benefit of the sport, and see the potential return by that investment.
From your perspective, what's making Padel growing that fast right now globally and in America?
Well, in America, it's the land of opportunity. Okay. Investors see the potential to get a return on their investment. Some will, some won't. It depends how they allocate those funds, how they use those funds, how they build their business model, whether they'll be successful or not. But it comes back to, as we said earlier, it's the product, and the product is the sport. And the way you present the sport, expose people to the sport, will determine the success in your market. So you look at the courts, they look great. I mean, some of these courts are works of art. You step on the court, it feels good, it's fun, it's exciting, and then you experience it. And people have to create that with their clubs. Get the exposure, get people in to feel it, touch it, try it, and give them the best experience so that they want to keep coming back and grow within the sport and play more, get their friends involved, and build that whole play, social, fun aspect for leisure.
From business perspective, what are the opportunities that are available right now for Padel players or for Padel enthusiasts around this Padel world right now?
I think it's engaging the consumer, the player. It's creating experience. So there's leagues, there's club ladders, there's social events, and obviously the media around that. So if you can expose the leagues and the social aspect, people will gravitate to it. People will bring their friends. It's building, you build the players through the exposure. I think this is a sport where there's pro level on the global tour. There's now pro level here in the US. There's pro level leagues. But at the end, I think the mass players will come from people engaging and having a great experience. So if I were opening a club, my marketing dollars would go towards bringing sports enthusiasts, sports athletes, players into my club, explaining what this is. I'd invest in a high quality coach, and that's not easy because a lot of those coaches are not here in the US. You need to go elsewhere in the globe, but that's an investment to bring them here with an expertise, not just being a good player, but being a good teacher, promoter, quote, guru for your club so that people become enthralled with the sport.
I agree with this 100%, and I think events and other social events to get more people into the clubs, just to get exposed for the first time about the sports, give them a racket, send them to the court for 5 minutes, they will come and they will ask, how do I sign up?
Correct.
Because that's very much addicting sport, and I fall in love with the sport, and this is why Love Padel was created, so we can have more and more fun and play more. Yes. So my goal is to attract newer players and more players from all around the world that they will come and will want to play Padel. So whenever I have available time, I can reach out and say, who want to come? I have available court. I will have many people stepping up and say, pick me, pick me. Because right now we have times during the day that the club's sitting empty. And if I have an open window during the day between interviews or between things that I'm doing and I want to play Padel, it's hard for me to find these other 3 players.
Right. Well, I think to some degree that's the nature of the club business. You're busy in the morning before people go to work. You're busy in the evenings after work till 11, 12 o'clock. I know some of the clubs are active till 12, 1 in the morning. The challenge is, how do you use that middle time? Are you reaching out to the schools, being part of their PE program, bringing in kids at different ages to expose them to the sport? And obviously the fitness aspect is good, The break from the schoolwork is good. So are you running kids programs? Are you partnering with local schools? Are you targeting the people who, in the middle of the day is the biggest challenge for clubs because that's when people aren't filling the courts. So focus some degree on how do you fill those courts during the day, and does that, again, build your consumer base, your member base for your premium times.
There's going to be a lot of new formation of different brands and new products that's coming up and new clubs that will be built as a brand and hope to expand, like Padel House, like Tactica. We have few companies, big names that are opening a reserve. Of course, we have an Ultra that's opening more locations outside of their close circles, and they're getting this to expand. We have Pallap right now that expanded from Europe to the US and Canada. What's going to make the few brands basically breaking the code and succeeding in this market?
I don't want to tell my future competitors the code, but I think we hit on that before. Do you have a reason to exist? You see that in some other sports. A lot of people think, oh, the sport's growing, it's so easy. Let's just go to a factory, they'll make us some products and we'll sell these products and we'll market them. The product needs a reason to exist. What's different about your product from a big brand? What's different about your product from a small generic brand? So you need to have, your product has to have a reason to exist. That's what we've created through engineering, through design, by players, using players to create the proper product, and then quality control at the factory. We have more quality control in our factories than some of the biggest brands. What's special about our product? Most of the rackets on the market have a weight range between 15 and 20 grams. That's not by design. That's through lack of quality control or lack of engineering. Our rackets have a 5-gram tolerance range. So if we say it's 355, it's between 355 and 360. And we weigh every racket coming off the assembly line and sticker that racket with the exact weight. So it's, again, creating product that helps people play the game, putting the right product in their hands. So, and that's the challenge, whether it's a club, creating the right experience, creating the right, those are the challenges for Padel in the, and for future competitors. You have to have your reason to exist, not just because you show up.
What mistakes do you see keep coming again and again with other brands that opened, failed, and we don't hear about them anymore?
Well, what makes your product special? Is it the proper quality? Who's the target customer for your product? I can't say this racket is good for Ignacio Piotto, who's one of our pro-level players on the global tour. Knowing who your target is, building a product that will help that particular target, creating the right price, then getting out there and marketing the product, letting people know about the product, exposing people to the product. It's not an easy process. It's not just sticking your product out there for people to buy, but it's creating something that has meaning, that people look at and identify with. People like to identify with their racket. Some people identify with different brands. They're proud to wear their brand. If they buy the racket, they buy the matching bag. They wear the shirt. They want the hat. So it's creating a brand identity, having, what does your brand stand for? Why does this product belong in my hand as a consumer? What are you doing to earn that consumer's trust, to have them spend their dollars on your brand? A lot of people think, again, you just go, you make a product, you paint it nice and shiny, and people will buy it. Well, that's why people fail. It's a lot more complicated than just showing up at the court.
We are right now in an era when trends rule the market right now. It can be a trend because one influencer hold your rackets, or one influencer came to your court. Now a lot of people want to come and experience the same things like their influencer did. Do you use influencers to help target and grow your company?
Yes, we sponsor coaches. We partner with some clubs. For example, Pulse Paddle Hub in North Miami, and Andres Contreras. Andres is one of our top ambassadors. He owns that club, so we're going to run events at that club where he's promoting the brand. Great partner. Paddle Point in Miami, just came on board a month ago and having great success with the product because, again, the coaches are using the product. So we make sure the coaches are using the product. We have some junior players, Jonathan Gonzalez, Jacobo Rodriguez. They're not necessarily the number one player, but they're really good players. They're good kids. They promote the brand. They represent the brand well on the court. They hold up the racket. Their presence is, you say, wow, that's a good kid. And they are good players and getting better. So it's not a matter of having the number one player, it's having the right player. Some of the number one players I've spoken to, they think they deserve the product because they're number one. No one deserves anything for free. There's a reason we want you to be part of our team, and we're building that. So as I said, Paddle Point Miami, Pulse Paddle, Paddle House, which is up to 8 clubs around the country. They're a great partner with ours. And here's part of the formula. NYC Racket Sports in New York, a retail store.
Right.
They carry everything we sell, and we are their number one selling line. How could a new brand be the number one selling line in the biggest retail store in New York City? It comes down to, as a small brand, we can't be everywhere, and we can't be everything to everyone. We'd love to be sold everywhere. We're only a year and a half old, so we're not there yet. But what do you do? So where a brand like ours does best, we know we've got the best looking product. We know we've got the best quality product. We know we've got the best performance product. But we need to be in places that understand and can explain the product. That's the reason to exist. Why is the coach using our racket? They can use any racket they want. Right. Why is NYC Racket Sports selling more of ours? Because they understand the product, they talk about the product. If someone walks in and asks for a racket that LeBron or one of the top players use, they're going to sell it to them. But if someone comes in saying, hey, I need a new racket, this is my style, this is what I'm looking for, and you present our brand, it looks better, it feels better, it performs better, they demo it, they try it, that's that personal touch. And then they look at the price and they go, really, the competitor's racket's $400 and this is $299. The sale is made and it's done. So places where you can touch and feel and see and want to partner with us, those are the ones where we do best, and those are the places we're looking to work with. So if you're out there and you're a coach, if you're an influencer, if you're involved in the sport or want to be involved in the sport, then reach out.
Where do you see Pallap in 5 years from today?
Well, as the sport grows in the U.S. and there's a threshold where clubs are thriving, players are growing, we're reaching more and more, I see Pallap as being recognized as the high quality, high performance paddle brand. People will come to us looking for the best performance racket, the best quality racket. We'll be recognized as a premium endemic brand in racket sports.
And where would you see the paddle world as a whole, not just in the US, around the world in 5 years from today, based on your perspective and knowledge?
I think certain countries will level off because they're already premium. I think you're going to still see countries that are growing and emerging. I think the US will, in 5 years, will have a big following for the sport. It's going to be great, but I don't see it leveling off. I see it continuing to grow because it's just because of the vastness of this country, the places paddle can be brought to. But in smaller countries, I think you do reach a plateau at some point, and then from a business perspective, you shift into a different mode of trying to maintain and keep your business relevant.
What needs to happen in the paddle world right now, breakthrough, to move to the next step in America, in South Florida, and in the world?
Paddle is a premium sport. You have investors who want to get a maximum return. It's an expensive sport. You're not going to get the middle class for people coming down and spending a premium to play for that hour. I think as paddle grows and becomes, there are more courts available, you'll reach that mid-range, that middle-income person where 4 friends can come down, it's affordable, a price for an hour for 4 people where they can say, yeah, this is fun, this is my leisure activity. That's where I think the explosion is going to happen. There's room in the market for premium clubs, there's room in the market for middle incomes clubs, and as I said, using your free court time, your spare court time, to bring in juniors, to bring in younger players, to find ways to maximize that. Maybe not as profit, but building your clientele for future. I think when paddle reaches the middle class, that's when the masses, when it's going to really explode.
So do you think that the cities or the counties, the school system will choose to adapt as well and take some of their tennis courts, because there is plenty of them all around the nation, all around the world, that was already built, and transform them into paddle? Are they going to see the benefit of paddle and make it more accessible to the public?
Well, I think we're starting to see the beginnings of college paddle on campus. We're seeing places add courts. I don't want to recommend taking tennis courts. I think tennis is a thriving sport. It's still experiencing growth. I think when people see empty tennis courts, they misinterpret that as being tennis is not a valid sport, or there's not enough players. There's plenty of tennis players. The courts get used. It's the time they get used and how they're used. Tennis is not necessarily the same social engagement. People come, they play, they leave. They're not hanging around courts. So I don't want to endorse taking tennis courts to build paddle courts.
Right.
I want to endorse building paddle courts for municipalities, for communities, on college campuses, even high schools, creating in cities, our local clubs creating a high school league and using those courts during their less engaged time to create a high school league. That's where I see, growth and adding more players and more exposure.
So giving some attention to the future generations of players can help this sport expand in a much bigger level.
Absolutely. I mean, you always need to get young people at the youngest age engaged in the sport. The interesting thing, people think in a lot of cases the parents play the sport so they get the kids into the sport.
I think
In
it's
many
the other way
cases,
around.
it's exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
The kids start playing the sport, and then the parents want to play the sport.
Because we as parents choose to invest more money in our kids, and
Yes.
we see their future, and if we see something that they like, we want to spend more money on that we put ourselves aside for a minute. But you say in paddle, while we are driving our kids over here to practice and we see the older crowds playing a little bit, we can get inspired and maybe try the sport ourselves. And like what happened to us, we'll fall in love and we want to come and play more and more.
Correct. I mean, that's in most of the kids you see who are in junior programs and playing, the parents play. And the kids get involved and the parents want to get involved because of that. In a lot of sports, you can't do that. My son was a competitive baseball player. We did travel ball. We traveled all over the place playing balls, tournaments. It wasn't going to get me at my age to play baseball.
Right.
But if, imagining if that were paddle and I were driving him all over, for paddle events, for tournaments, I would get on a court and play as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's for everyone's sport.
Correct.
Right now, we can see people from the youngest age of like 7 years old, even younger than that sometimes, to the older people that I see some people here and I'm afraid to go and play with them. I don't want them to get hurt. But then I'm playing with them because this is my partners for the game and they're playing way better than me. They know the strategy better than me and they get the sport better than me.
Yes, and the youth are a big part of it. If you look at some of the mature countries like Spain or Italy, kids are exposed to the sport at a young age. They play the sport. They grow up playing the sport. Most of the kids here joined the sport at a certain age, at a later age. They didn't grow up starting to play the sport. And I think as the sport grows in the U.S., more kids will get involved. They'll start at younger ages. And pretty soon, the U.S. will be developing some of the best players in the world in the future.
Are the U.S. going to be leading those competitions and tournaments in the next few years? Are we going to see American flags on these podiums?
I think so. I mean, it's, I'd like to say it's inevitable. You saw that, when I was growing up, soccer was not a sport in the U.S. or football in Europe. It didn't exist. And then it started to exist. And you saw kids coming over from other countries and they played and we would try to play, but we didn't know anything about the sport. Now you see it, and it's a major sport in the U.S. It's got television coverages. There's leagues. There's a pro league.
I think that we like to win the Olympics.
Yes.
That's the American problem.
Yes.
We like to win the Olympics, so once the paddle will hit the Olympic Games, this is where America is going to allocate a lot more money and a lot more attention into the growth of this sport, and try to help all of those small clubs and cities to produce much stronger players so they can represent the U.S. in the next Olympics.
And as we've discussed through various questions here, it all blends together. It's quality coaching, it's programs, it's engagement, and that will, those are the roots that are going to grow and, thrive.
Now, if you have the ability to build a paddle experience, what would it look like?
I think some people are already doing that. I mean, you look at the most successful clubs, the paddle houses, the reserves, they're not just courts. They're environments that people come to. So there's obviously paddle and the program. That's the product. That's what it starts. That's the foundation. But what else do they offer? Why should I spend my time there? Are there lounges with TVs for social events? Is there juice bars in the morning, coffee bars, light snacks, wine, beer? Are they bringing people in around events? Are they building a community? I think a successful club builds a community. You bring in the kids, the parents, the relatives, the friends. There's a reason to gravitate to this social environment, and paddle is an extremely social sport. You just need to tap into it, and I think the ideas are unlimited. I could name 4, 5, 6 ideas here. I think I'm just scratching the surface, and I don't have all the ideas. People have better ideas than me. They will put them into their clubs and create that. Is it birthday parties? Instead of going to the bowling alley for your birthday party with your kids, have a paddle birthday party. So there's so many things, and you don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's just putting them into your venue.
So you think the social aspects
Yes.
and how to attract people, not just to book the court.
Right.
So
The courts will get booked if you do all those things to make people want to come.
Should we have more courts, or should we have more social life around the club itself? Your perspective say invest in the social life around the club.
Yes, you need the courts. I mean, obviously, if you invest in the social and you create the demand and you don't have the courts, I think they go together. I think when you open up a new club, you shouldn't maximize. You need to have the foresight to have the ability to expand in the future. Not an easy thing to say, not always easy to do,
Right.
but that's the ideal. You're asking for the ideal.
Right. That's enough. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. One more thing.
Yes.
We always like to have party gifts. So for Alon, we have this beautiful Pallap sweatshirt with the logo on the front. It's his color. It looks good.
All right.
And,
I love this color.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for being so cooperative for a long time. We've been in relationship for like over a year now, talking about different things. You came to my house, we had coffee together. We've been talking about the growth of paddle off the mics and off the cameras, because we're both passionate about this and the entrepreneurship about this industry. So I appreciate you always be there.
Thank you.
Looking forward to see Pallaps growing and succeeding. I'm looking forward for the collection to come and try any one of those rackets.
Yeah, I need to give my plugs, of course. There's, Pallap Padel USA on Instagram. Pallap USA is our website. Look us up, reach out to us, and we'd love to bring you on board.
Thank you very much. We're happy to have you, and we'll be seeing you in the next one.
Great, thank you.
And for all of you guys, keep following Love Padel. Keep following all of Pallaps, because Philip is an amazing guy, and you want to be one of the very first people. And right now, even if there are thousands of people already following, you follow and you say, I was one of the first few thousands that follow these brands, because I see Pallap keep growing and succeeding, and I want to be part of this growth. And this is why Philip is here with me today. And until the next time, I'll see you right there, or I'll see you at the court.